The desert is the most perfect execution environment for killing life. There are many places on this planet that are dangerous, but deserts are dangerous in a special mathematical way. They are an environment where temperature is not just hot, but where temperature is the primary structuring force that sets the geometry of survival. The desert, specifically the Sahara and similar hyper-arid zones, is a place where the atmosphere strips moisture, where the ground surface becomes lethal, where scent molecules do not persist, and where chemical communication evaporates faster than it can be used. In the middle of this crushing logic, an animal the size of a sesame seed has mastered the one thing that almost every other organism fails at. Not just surviving, but operating with precision timing, with reliable navigation, and with absolute athletic execution inside an environment that should kill it in seconds. This animal is the desert ant. And if desert ants were the only thing you knew about biology, you would have to conclude that evolution is not primarily a process of making bodies stronger. Evolution is a process of making time management perfect. Human beings think ants follow scent trails. In the tropical rainforests, in temperate leaf litter, and in most general habitats, this is true. Ants follow chemical trails, mark paths, and use pheromone networks like highways. But in deserts, pheromones vanish. They literally evaporate faster than the ant can walk on them. A chemical message is erased so quickly by the extreme dryness and heat that information cannot persist. So desert ants do not behave like ants in the popular imagination. They behave like independent navigation units. They behave like small biological robots with real-time internal vector integration and error correction. This is a fundamentally different behavioral paradigm, and the desert forces this paradigm because there is no other way to function. If you cannot rely on chemical external memory, you must rely on internal geometric memory. This alone would be impressive. But what makes desert ants insane by biological standards is that they do not merely have an alternate navigation system. They have the most extreme physical athleticism of any ant lineage on Earth. Several research groups, including the Swiss team under Professor Rüdiger Wiener at the University of Zurich, measured peak running speeds of desert silver ants from the Sahara and reported that these tiny animals achieve speed values up to about 108 body lengths per second. To put that into human imagination, if a human being could run at 108 body lengths per second, we would break the sound barrier. Even the cheetah, the iconic sprinter of mammals, does not remotely come close to this speed when scaled to its own body length. So desert ants are the fastest sprinters of scale on the planet, and they are not sprinting on a safe field. They are sprinting on a frying pan. Ground surface temperatures in the Sahara in summer midday can reach above 60 degrees Celsius. If you place your hand on that sand, your skin will burn. The surface is literally tens of degrees above the boiling point of protein stability inside most insects. So how do desert ants not die? The answer is not better heat tolerance. The truth is far more elegant and counterintuitive. Desert ants survive not because they can endure high temperatures for long periods. They survive because they reduce their exposure time to the minimum possible. They treat every forage as a race against thermodynamic integration. The longer your body is in contact with the heat, the more the heat diffuses through the cuticle into the tissue, and the more likely it becomes that essential proteins will denature, membranes will destabilize, neurons will misfire, and death will occur. Desert ants are not heat-proof. They are heat dodgers. They run so fast that the heat cannot accumulate in their tissues in time. This is why everything in desert ant biology is about temporal optimization. They do not go out at random. They do not forage when they feel like it. They open their foraging window exactly in the narrow time slice of the day when conditions are lethal enough to kill other insects, but not yet lethal enough to kill them. In this narrow window, the desert ant finds what the desert gives as its only food: heat-killed bodies. The sun is the primary predator in the desert. The desert ant is the scavenger of the sun. All of this becomes even more astonishing when we focus on a specific species, Cataglyphus fortis, the iconic Sahara silver ant. Researchers from universities such as Zurich, Ulm, and Sussex have used Cataglyphus fortis as a model organism in experimental desert field stations in Tunisia. These studies have repeatedly confirmed that Cataglyphus fortis can sprint on salt pan surfaces at temperatures where most insects would die in seconds. The ant's long legs, reflective body hairs, and extremely rapid locomotion work together to create a form of thermal aerodynamics, a tiny air gap between the body and surface that reduces heat transfer by conduction. But again, the physical design is only half of the story. The real secret is behavioral. Every step in the desert is a calculation of exposure time. Every movement is a controlled reduction of heat integration. Speed, therefore, is not a weapon against prey. It is a shield against entropy. This organism is not simply surviving the desert, it is solving the desert. But the desert is not only heat, the desert is also emptiness. There are no landmarks in many salt pan regions. No trees, no bushes, no cliffs, no stable visual features. Yet Cataglyphus fortis always knows where home is. The Swiss desert ant program discovered that Cataglyphus fortis navigates with a combination of step counting, pedometer mechanism, solar azimuth reading, and polarized light pattern processing in the sky. The polarization pattern of skylight, which most humans cannot see, becomes a perfect compass. The ant uses the sky as a map. It uses its own move history as a vector generator. It does not need pheromones. It does not need external memory. It needs only three things: movement, sunlight, and a nervous system tuned to integrate vectors. This is one of the most elegant biological solutions ever discovered. And the most beautiful part is that this entire navigation happens in a brain the size of a grain of sand. People talk a lot about AI and robotics, but nature created a fully functioning dead reckoning system in a tiny arthropod millions of years before humans existed. What makes this even more astonishing is that the colony of Cataglyphus fortis is not coordinated by trails. The colony is coordinated by time. The foragers are independent agents. There are no pheromone highways. There is no chemical consensus. There is only the correct opening of the foraging market window. When the conditions are right, the colony releases units. When the conditions are wrong, everything shuts down. The colony is like a stock exchange. Short sessions, high intensity. Many people believe strongest animals dominate the desert. This is not true. Strength does nothing against heat. In the desert, the metric of survival is not raw strength. The metric is how many seconds can you stay alive before irreversible damage accumulates. This is why Cataglyphus fortis is not a predator. It is a forager of catastrophe. It waits until other animals lose the thermal lottery. It waits until the body of the fly or beetle collapses in the sun, and then it sprints in, collects the protein, and sprints out. It is more like a paramedic than a hunter. Its success comes from arriving after the victim is already on the ground and getting out before the same fate happens to itself. This strategy is based on a law. Heat kills slowly but steadily. If you spend 2 seconds longer outside than your optimal window, you die. If you miscalculate the vector to your nest by just 2 degrees, you might end up running dozens of meters more in the heat, and those extra meters could be fatal. In such an environment, the Sahara Silver Ant is not a random walker. It is a precision instrument. Its movement is error managed. Its memory is geometric. Its sense of direction is calibrated against the sky. The sky is their map. Polarized light patterns, which change based on the position of the sun, create a consistent reference frame. Scientists from the University of Sussex have published experimental results showing that when researchers artificially manipulate polarization using filters, desert ants become confused and lose their straight-line return accuracy. The moment the ant loses access to the polarization pattern, it becomes like a human without a compass. This is powerful evidence that desert ants are not simply using the ground. They are using the sky as their anchor. This is why cloud patterns matter for their future. Climate change is not merely about more heat. A warmer planet also changes cloud cover geometry in the Sahara, the Maghreb, the Arabian Peninsula, and other desert zones. If cloud cover increases on average, the polarization pattern becomes more complex or diffuse. If polarization becomes more difficult to decode, then the desert ant navigation system becomes less reliable. Even if the ants could tolerate a slightly higher temperature, which is doubtful, they might lose the precision to find their nest, and could die of navigational error. A desert ant that cannot find home is a dead ant. The desert does not forgive wandering. All of this makes Cataglyphus fortis the greatest argument against the simplistic idea that evolution is random and messy. Here, evolution is surgical. Everything is tuned to the maximum. Leg length is not random. Leg kinematics are not random. Vision is not random. The distribution of cuticle microstructures is not random. The behavioral schedule of leaving the nest is not random. Everything is a negotiation with time. Inside the body, the metabolic situation is perhaps even more dramatic. The desert is a place where carbohydrate is abundant in the sense that dead insects contain carbon-based molecules. But water is almost non-existent. This flips the economy of the body. In tropical ants, the limiting resource is often sugar. In desert ants, the limiting resource is water. The colony is not trying to maximize sugar intake. The colony is trying to avoid water loss. This makes the desert ant colony a liquidity optimizer. It is a kind of hedge fund managing hydration. When a Cataglyphus fortis worker returns to the nest with a piece of protein, it is not just bringing food. It is bringing back water trapped inside complex molecules. The colony must convert every bit of energy into a form that does not increase water loss. The desert ant is a master accountant. Every metabolic pathway must be chosen to minimize evaporative loss across the cuticle. This is why their cuticle properties matter. This is why the hairs on their body matter. This is why the speed of running matters. All of these elements are optimized to preserve the most precious currency, intracellular water. The fact that the entire colony can survive on the catastrophic failures of other desert insects tells us something profound. The desert is not a food desert. It is a time desert. The sun provides unlimited food indirectly. The desert ant just needs to arrive at the right second. We can now see how this species transforms the most hostile environment into a predictable resource stream. It is not because the ant controls the desert. It is because the ant understands the desert. Desert ants teach us something that engineers and AI researchers rarely consider, that the solution to extreme environments is not more force, or more computation, or more power. The solution is smart timing. The silver ant is a mathematician of seconds, and this elegance shows us why this species has become the flagship of desert ant research. If we want to know what the future of robotics in extreme N, in the hottest hours of the Sahara Desert, when the sand surface exceeds 55 to 60 degrees Celsius, and most insects collapse and die within seconds, one species still runs, the Sahara Silver Ant, Cataglyphus fortis. This species is not heat-resistant in the way people imagine. It survives using a different strategy. It moves so fast that lethal heat cannot fully penetrate into its body. Field researchers from the University of Zurich have documented speeds up to about 108 body lengths per second, making this ant one of the fastest land animals on Earth if we scale speed relative to body length. Because pheromones evaporate instantly in desert conditions, the silver ant cannot use chemical trails like normal ants. Instead, it navigates using a biological form of mathematics, step counting, memory of its own travel vector, and the polarized pattern of sunlight in the sky. Experiments from researchers in Tunisia showed that when polarization in the sky is artificially disturbed, these ants lose their ability to return to the nest in a straight line. This species forages only inside a very tiny time window each day, usually less than 1 hour, when temperatures are lethal for other insects but still barely survivable for itself. It takes advantage of this narrow thermal window as a scavenger. It collects the bodies of insects killed by the sun, then returns before its own body begins to overheat. In desert ecology, this ant teaches one key lesson. The desert does not reward strength, it rewards perfect timing and perfect navigation. Cataglyphus fortis is a masterpiece of evolution in extreme time management.